The galaxy had always thought little of humanity. For years, the people of Earth were treated as minor players in the vast universe ruled by the Galactic Council. This council was made up of powerful alien civilizations that controlled most of the known galaxy. They set the rules, enforced their laws, and expected everyone else to follow. Humanity, with its short history among the stars, was often ignored or dismissed as too young and inexperienced to matter. But things were about to change. On a small outpost near the edge of Council-controlled space, Captain Daniel Hayes stood watching the stars through a large viewport. He was a tall man with sharp features and a calm demeanor, but tonight his mind raced. A message had just arrived from Admiral Laura Bennett, one of Earth's top military leaders. It wasn't good news. The Galactic Council had grown impatient with humanity's growing independence. They saw Earth's recent advancements in technology as a threat rather than progress. Tensions were rising, and war seemed inevitable. Daniel sighed deeply and turned away from the window. His crew depended on him to stay focused, no matter how tense things got. The outpost he commanded wasn't much, just a cluster of domes and landing pads built into an asteroid. But it served as humanity's eyes and ears along the border. If the Council decided to act, this would be one of the first places they attacked. That thought weighed heavily on him, but there was something else gnawing at his mind. The rumors about Project Eclipse. Project Eclipse was supposed to be Earth's secret weapon. For decades, scientists and engineers back on Earth had been working tirelessly to build a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. These ships weren't ordinary vessels. They were equipped with cutting-edge technology developed in secret labs hidden deep within Earth's asteroid belt. Quantum drives, energy shields, plasma cannons, all designed to give humanity a fighting chance against the far more advanced alien races. Daniel didn't know all the details, but he'd heard enough to understand its importance. If the rumors were true, Project Eclipse could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. As if on cue, another message came through. This time, it was from Admiral Bennett herself. Captain Hayes, her voice crackled over the comms. "We need you to prepare your team for possible deployment. Project Eclipse is ready ahead of schedule." Daniel froze. Ready? That meant humanity was about to step onto the galactic stage in a way no one expected. He felt a mix of pride and dread wash over him. Pride because humanity had achieved something incredible, and dread because revealing such power might provoke exactly what they feared most, a full-scale war. Later that evening, Daniel sat alone in his quarters reviewing the latest reports. Outposts like his had detected increased activity from the Council's fleets near human territory. Scouts reported unusual movements, suggesting the aliens were preparing for something big. Was it coincidence, or had they somehow learned about Project Eclipse? Either way, Daniel knew time was running out. Humanity couldn't afford to wait around and hope for peace. They needed to take control of their destiny. The next morning, Daniel gathered his senior officers for a briefing. He explained the situation as best he could without giving away classified information. "Something's coming," he told them, his tone serious. "We don't know when or where, but we have to be ready. Our job is to hold the line until reinforcements arrive." His words hung heavy in the air, but his team nodded in agreement. They trusted him, and he trusted them. As the days passed, Daniel kept a close eye on the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity's future was being decided. Whether it ended in peace or war remained to be seen. But one thing was certain: the age of ignoring humanity was over. The battle began without warning. Council fleets emerged from hyperspace like a storm, surrounding humanity's positions in a matter of minutes. Their ships were massive, bristling with weapons that glowed ominously as they charged for the first strike. Plasma bolts streaked across space, lighting up the void with bursts of fiery explosions. Humanity's fleet stood its ground, shields shimmering under the relentless assault. It was chaos. Pure, unrelenting chaos. Captain Daniel Hayes gripped the armrests of his command chair aboard the Vanguard *. His knuckles white, as he watched the battle unfold. His squadron of destroyers formed a tight defensive line, absorbing enemy fire while returning volleys with precision. The Vanguard advanced AI, calculated trajectories, and adjusted weapon systems in real time, giving them an edge against the overwhelming numbers. But even with their superior technology, the odds were grim. "Hold the line," Daniel shouted over the comm channel to his crew. "We can't let them break through." Admiral Laura Bennett commanded the fight from the bridge of the Eclipse *. Her flagship unleashed devastating barrages of energy weapons, tearing through Council ships with terrifying efficiency. Yet for every enemy vessel destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The Council's forces were vast, their tactics brutal and efficient. They focused on isolating smaller human ships, picking them off one by one. Explosions lit up the darkness as ships on both sides were torn apart. Lieutenant Emily Ross worked furiously at her station aboard the Vanguard *, monitoring shield levels and damage reports. "Shields are down to 40%. She called out, her voice strained but steady. "Port side hull breach on deck 3. Daniel clenched his jaw. "Seal it off and reroute power to the forward shields," he ordered. He knew they couldn't hold out forever, but retreat wasn't an option. Not yet. Every second they held the line gave the rest of the fleet time to regroup and counterattack. Amid the chaos, Admiral Bennett made a bold decision. She ordered the Eclipse * to break formation and launch a daring flanking maneuver. With its quantum fusion drives roaring to life, the flagship surged forward, leaving trails of blue light in its wake. The move caught the Council forces off guard, creating a gap in their lines. Humanity's ships poured through the opening, striking key targets and forcing the enemy to divert resources to defend themselves. Daniel saw the opportunity and seized it. "Follow me," he commanded his squadron. "Hit their supply ships, cut off their reinforcements." The destroyers broke away from the main engagement, weaving through debris fields and dodging enemy fire. One by one, they targeted the Council's support vessels, crippling their ability to sustain the fight. Explosions rippled through the battlefield as cargo holds detonated, scattering wreckage across space. Back aboard the Eclipse *, Admiral Bennett coordinated the counteroffensive with cold determination. "Keep pushing," she urged her officers. "We've got them on the ropes." Slowly but surely, humanity gained ground. Their advanced technology and adaptability turned the tide, but the cost was staggering. Ships exploded in fiery bursts, sending shockwaves through the fleet. Crew members perished, their sacrifices etched into the annals of history. Still, the humans refused to yield. Hours passed, though it felt like days. The Council's commanders, realizing they were losing control, attempted to rally their remaining forces. But it was too late. Humanity's fleet had shattered their momentum, leaving them disorganized and vulnerable. One by one, the alien ships began retreating, vanishing into hyperspace as quickly as they had arrived. When the last enemy ship disappeared, an eerie silence settled over the battlefield. The survivors gazed out at the devastation, their hearts heavy with loss, but also pride. They had faced an overwhelming force and emerged victorious. For Captain Daniel Hayes, the moment was bittersweet. He thought of the friends and comrades lost in the fight, their voices silenced forever. But he also thought of Earth, safe for now thanks to their courage. Humanity had proven itself capable of standing toe-to-toe with the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The war wasn't over, but this victory would echo across the stars. The age of humanity had begun. Back on Earth, President Matthew Grant sat in the dimly lit war room, surrounded by maps and holographic projections of the galaxy. The air was thick with tension as his advisors debated their next move. Admiral Laura Bennett stood at the center of the room, pointing to a glowing red dot on the map that marked the Council's hidden base. "This is our target," she said firmly. "If we destroy it, we cripple their ability to launch a large-scale attack. But timing is critical. We can't afford to wait." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed her words. Humanity's survival depended on this mission, but the risks were enormous. The Council's base was heavily fortified, guarded by dozens of warships and advanced defense systems. Attacking it directly would be suicide unless they planned carefully. After hours of discussion, they reached a decision. Instead of striking preemptively, they would focus on defending their borders while preparing for an eventual counteroffensive. It wasn't ideal, but it gave them time to strengthen their forces. Admiral Bennett immediately set the plan into motion. She ordered the fleet to mobilize once again, this time led by the Eclipse itself. As flagship, it would serve as both command center and spearhead for humanity's defenses. Captain Daniel Hayes and his squadron were reassigned to the front lines, tasked with holding key positions near Earth's outer colonies. Every ship was stocked with supplies, weapons, and repair drones. There would be no room for error when the battle began. Across Earth, civilians rallied behind their defenders. News broadcasts showed images of the fleet preparing for deployment, accompanied by speeches from President Grant and other leaders. "We are not aggressors," Grant declared in a televised address. "But we will not stand idly by while others threaten our freedom. To those who doubt us, know this: humanity fights for its future, and we will not falter." His words resonated deeply, uniting people of all backgrounds under a single cause. Cities lit up with displays of support, flags waved, rallies filled public squares, and messages of gratitude poured in for the men and women serving aboard the ships. As the fleet launched into hyperspace, ordinary citizens watched with bated breath. Families gathered around screens, praying for loved ones stationed on the front lines. Among them was Daniel's wife, Sarah, who held their young daughter close as she watched the broadcast. "Daddy's going to be okay, right?" the girl asked, her voice trembling. Sarah forced a smile, though her eyes glistened with tears. "Of course he is," she replied softly. "He's the strongest person I know." Aboard the Eclipse, Admiral Bennett addressed her officers one last time before reaching the designated positions. "This isn't just about winning battles," she said, her tone steady but heartfelt. "It's about proving that humanity belongs among the stars. No matter what happens out there, remember why we're fighting. For Earth, for our families, and for every generation to come." Her words bolstered the crew's spirits, reminding them of the stakes. When the fleet arrived at its destination, the sight was breathtaking. Dozens of planets orbited distant suns, their surfaces dotted with human settlements. These colonies represented hope, the belief that humanity could thrive beyond Earth. Now, they also symbolized resilience. Ships took up defensive formations, creating overlapping fields of fire designed to repel any attack. Engineers worked tirelessly to reinforce shields and calibrate weapon systems. Everyone knew the Council wouldn't hesitate to strike. Days passed without incident, but the calm only heightened the tension. Then, during a routine patrol, Daniel's squadron detected enemy signals growing stronger. The Council was moving closer. Reports flooded in from other sectors, confirming that alien fleets were converging on human territory. War was no longer a question of if, it was a question of when. As the first wave of Council ships appeared on the horizon, Daniel felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the moment humanity had been preparing for. The galaxy trembled as two forces collided, each determined to shape the future. And though the outcome remained uncertain, one thing was clear: humanity would fight with everything it had. Admiral Laura Bennett stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, her hands clasped behind her back as she gazed out at the rows of ships arrayed before her. The flagship was a marvel of engineering, its sleek design cutting through the void like a blade. Around it, dozens of destroyers, cruisers, and support vessels formed a protective formation, their engines glowing faintly against the dark expanse of space. This was humanity's ultimate fleet, a testament to years of hard work and sacrifice. And now, it was time to put it to use. The bridge crew worked quietly, their movements precise and efficient. Each officer knew their role and carried it out without hesitation. Among them was Captain Daniel Hayes, who had been assigned to lead a squadron of destroyers tasked with patrolling the outer edges of human territory. He stood near the tactical console, studying the deployment plan displayed on the holographic screen. His expression was calm, but his mind raced with questions. Would the Council strike first? Could humanity hold its ground if they did? There were no easy answers, only the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Admiral Bennett turned to address her officers. "This is it," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "We're deploying to Earth's colonies at the edge of Council space. Our job is simple: protect them at all costs. If the Council wants a fight, they'll find us ready." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I won't lie to you. This mission carries risks. But remember why we're here. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every person back home who believes in a better future." The room fell silent as her words hung in the air. For many, this was the moment they'd trained for their entire lives. They weren't soldiers by choice. They were defenders of humanity. One by one, the officers nodded, their resolve strengthening. When Bennett dismissed them, Daniel lingered for a moment, watching the stars outside the viewport. He thought about Earth, the bustling cities, the quiet countrysides, the billions of lives depending on people like him to keep them safe. It was a daunting thought, but also a motivating one. As the fleet prepared to jump into hyperspace, Daniel returned to his own ship, the Vanguard *. It was smaller than the Eclipse *, but still formidable, equipped with advanced weaponry and shielding. His crew greeted him with salutes and determined smiles. They trusted him to lead them, and he wouldn't let them down. Once aboard, he gave the order to begin the jump sequence. Across the fleet, engines roared to life, bathing the surrounding space in a soft blue glow. Moments later, the ships vanished into the swirling vortex of hyperspace, leaving behind only silence. Back on Earth, civilians gathered around screens to watch footage of the fleet's departure. Broadcasts showed the massive armada streaking across the sky, a sight that filled viewers with both pride and unease. Children pointed excitedly at the images while parents exchanged worried glances. Everyone knew what this meant. Humanity was stepping onto the galactic stage in a way it never had before. Some saw it as a bold declaration of independence. Others feared it might provoke exactly what they hoped to avoid: war. When the fleet emerged from hyperspace near the outer colonies, the scene was breathtaking. Dozens of planets orbited distant suns, their surfaces dotted with settlements and mining operations. These were humanity's frontiers, places where pioneers risked everything to carve out new lives. Now they would serve as the first line of defense. As the ships took up their positions, Daniel felt a sense of purpose settle over him. This wasn't just about protecting borders. It was about proving that humanity belonged among the stars. For hours, the fleet conducted drills, testing formations and communication systems. Everything needed to be perfect. If the Council attacked, there would be no room for error. By the time night fell, or what passed for night in deep space, Daniel allowed himself a brief moment of rest. He sat alone in his quarters, staring at a photo of his family back on Earth. His wife and daughter smiled up at him, unaware of how much rested on his shoulders. He whispered a silent promise to them. I'll come back. I'll make sure you're safe, Unbeknownst to him, far beyond the edge of human territory, the Council's fleets were already mobilizing. War loomed closer with each passing hour, and when it came, nothing would ever be the same again. In the grand halls of the Galactic Council's capital station, Ambassador Rachel Dawson stood facing a sea of alien faces. The room was enormous, with towering ceilings and walls adorned with glowing symbols that represented the many species under the Council's rule. Rachel was a petite woman in her 40s, with sharp blue eyes and an air of quiet determination. She had been chosen for this role because she knew how to speak softly while carrying the weight of humanity on her shoulders. Today, however, even her calm demeanor struggled to mask the tension in the air. The council chamber buzzed with murmurs as representatives from dozens of alien civilizations leaned forward in their seats, watching Rachel intently. At the center of the semicircular table sat Vraxtar, a towering reptilian leader whose scales shimmered like polished jade. His golden eyes glinted with disdain as he listened to Rachel's words. "We are not your enemies," she said firmly, her voice steady despite the storm brewing around her. "Our advancements are meant for defense, not aggression." Her speech was met with skepticism. One ambassador, a spindly insectoid creature with clicking mandibles, hissed loudly. "Defense? You call this defense?" It spat, gesturing toward holographic images floating above the table. The projections showed blurry scans of Earth's new fleet, ships bristling with weapons and engines capable of unmatched speed. "This is a threat to galactic stability," another representative chimed in, its voice echoing through the chamber. Rachel took a deep breath and continued. "Humanity has always sought peace. We followed your laws, respected your borders, and contributed to trade whenever possible. But we cannot stand by while our sovereignty is questioned." Her words were met with more jeers and dismissive remarks. Vraxtar finally leaned forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over the table. "You expect us to believe these toys are purely defensive," he growled, his voice dripping with mockery. "Your kind is young, impulsive. You do not understand the consequences of your actions." Rachel felt her patience wearing thin, but she forced herself to remain composed. "If you choose to see us as a threat, then that is your mistake," she replied coolly. "But know this, humanity will not bow to intimidation. We have earned our place among the stars, and we will defend it if necessary." Her statement drew gasps from some members of the council, while others exchanged uneasy glances. It was clear that her defiance had struck a nerve. The meeting ended without resolution. As Rachel left the chamber, she could feel the weight of failure pressing down on her. She had hoped to find common ground, to convince the council that humanity posed no danger. Instead, she had only deepened their mistrust. Back aboard her shuttle, she sent a message to President Matthew Grant on Earth. "They won't listen," she wrote. "Preparations must continue. They see us as either weak or reckless, and neither perception works in our favor." On Earth, news of the failed negotiations spread quickly. Public opinion shifted almost overnight. For years, there had been debates about whether humanity should take a stronger stance against the Council. Now, those doubts vanished. People rallied behind their leaders, calling for unity and strength. In cities across the globe, crowds gathered to watch broadcasts of Earth's newly completed fleet. The sight of sleek warships cutting through space filled them with both awe and resolve. If war came, they would be ready. President Grant addressed the nation later that evening, his face appearing on screens worldwide. "We did not seek conflict," he said, his tone measured but firm. "But we will not shy away from it if forced. Humanity has proven time and again that we can rise to any challenge. Together, we will protect our future." His words resonated deeply, uniting people of all backgrounds under a single cause. Meanwhile, Admiral Laura Bennett received orders to deploy the fleet. Ships began moving into position near Earth's outer colonies, preparing for whatever might come next. Among them was Captain Daniel Hayes, who watched the stars with a mix of anticipation and dread. He knew the Council wouldn't let this stand. War was coming, and humanity would need every advantage it could muster. News of humanity's new fleet spread quickly across the galaxy, reaching even the most distant corners of space. For years, smaller alien species had lived under the shadow of the Galactic Council, their freedoms restricted, and their voices silenced. But now, whispers of Earth's defiance inspired hope among those who longed for change. One such group sent an envoy to Earth, a diminutive insectoid diplomat named Krelzen. His arrival marked a turning point in humanity's journey, though few realized it at the time. Krelzen was no taller than a human child, his exoskeleton shimmering faintly under the artificial lights of Earth's Capitol building. He moved with quick, precise steps, his multifaceted eyes scanning the room as he approached President Matthew Grant. A translator device hung around his neck, emitting soft clicks and hums as it converted his speech into English. "Your courage inspires us," Krelzen said, his voice high-pitched but firm. "For too long, we have endured the Council's rule without question. Perhaps your actions will show others that resistance is possible." President Grant listened intently, his expression thoughtful. He had spent much of his life navigating politics, both on Earth and among the stars, but this moment felt different. Here was a representative from another species, not one of the powerful council races, but a lesser being who saw humanity as a beacon of hope. It was humbling, yet also sobering. "We didn't choose this path lightly," Grant replied after a pause. "But if standing up means earning respect, then so be it. Tell me, what do you seek?" Krelzen hesitated, his antennae twitching slightly. "Allies," he said simply. "The Council grows uneasy. They see your fleet not just as a threat, but as a challenge to their authority. If more species join you, perhaps they will hesitate before acting." The idea intrigued Grant. Forming alliances could strengthen humanity's position, but it also carried risks. Any species caught supporting Earth would face severe consequences from the Council. Still, the potential benefits outweighed the dangers. "We'll consider it," Grant promised. "But know this, if war comes, you'll need to decide where you stand." While diplomats discussed alliances, Captain Daniel Hayes patrolled near a contested border zone between human territory and Council-controlled space. His squadron consisted of 4 destroyers, each bristling with weapons and equipped with advanced sensors. For days, they scanned the area, looking for signs of trouble. At first, everything seemed quiet, too quiet. Then, during a routine sweep, one of his officers detected something unusual: faint energy signals emanating from a nearby asteroid field. "Sir, I'm picking up traces of heat signatures," Lieutenant Emily Ross reported from her station. "They're faint, but they match known patterns of Council ship emissions." Daniel frowned. The Council wasn't supposed to be operating this close to human borders without permission. Something was wrong. "Bring us closer," he ordered. "Keep shields ready and weapons primed. If this turns out to be nothing, fine. But if it isn't..." He let the sentence trail off, knowing everyone understood the stakes. As the Vanguard approached the asteroid field, the crew spotted flashes of light reflecting off metal surfaces hidden within the rocks. There, tucked away behind layers of camouflage, were several Council scout ships. They hadn't noticed the humans yet, likely assuming they were safe in their hiding spot. Daniel knew he had 2 choices: retreat and report the discovery or gather more information. Either option carried risks, but retreating meant leaving critical intelligence in enemy hands. "Deploy surveillance drones," he instructed. "I want eyes on every ship in there. Record everything." The drones slipped silently through the asteroids, capturing detailed footage of the Council vessels. What they revealed was alarming. Blueprints for new weapon systems, supply manifests indicating large-scale troop movements, and encrypted communications hinting at plans for an imminent attack. Daniel's blood ran cold. This wasn't just reconnaissance, it was preparation for war. "Get this data back to command immediately," he told Ross, "and prepare to fall back. We've seen enough." The squadron withdrew without engaging, careful to avoid detection. Once safely away, Daniel transmitted the evidence to Admiral Bennett. The message came with a single line of text: "They're planning something big." As the data reached Earth, leaders scrambled to analyze it. Every piece pointed to one conclusion: the Council intended to strike first. Humanity's fleet might have been ready, but now, more than ever, timing would determine survival. War was coming, and when it arrived, the galaxy itself would tremble. Deep within the asteroid belt, far from prying eyes, Samantha Cole worked tirelessly in a massive underground facility. The room hummed with activity as engineers and technicians moved between rows of consoles, their faces illuminated by glowing screens. Samantha was one of the lead designers of Project Eclipse, humanity's most ambitious military endeavor. She was a woman in her early 30s with short brown hair and a determined expression that rarely softened, even during moments of triumph. For years, she and her team had poured their hearts into creating something extraordinary, a fleet of warships unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The ships were marvels of engineering. Each vessel was powered by quantum fusion drives, allowing them to travel faster and farther than anything currently used by the Galactic Council. Their hulls were reinforced with advanced alloys that could withstand intense bombardment, and their weapon systems fired beams of concentrated plasma capable of slicing through enemy shields. But what truly set these ships apart was their artificial intelligence cores. Unlike the rigid programming found in other fleets, these AIs were designed to adapt in real time, learning from every battle to become more effective over time. It was a breakthrough no one thought possible just a few decades ago. Samantha walked along the catwalks overlooking the assembly bay, where dozens of ships stood ready for launch. Below her, workers performed final checks on the flagship, a colossal vessel named the Eclipse *. Its sleek design and menacing silhouette made it look like a predator waiting to strike. She couldn't help but feel a sense of pride as she gazed at it. This ship, and the rest of the fleet, represented humanity's best chance to stand against the overwhelming power of the Galactic Council. Still, there was an undercurrent of unease. If the Council discovered what Earth was building, they would see it as an act of aggression. And if that happened, all of this effort might only hasten humanity's destruction. Her thoughts were interrupted by a voice behind her. "Cole, we've got a problem." It was Marcus Lee, one of the senior engineers. He held a tablet in his hand, his brow furrowed with concern. Samantha turned to face him. "What is it?" she asked, already bracing herself for bad news. Marcus hesitated before speaking. "One of the reactors in the Pioneer core isn't stabilizing properly. If we don't fix it soon, the whole system could fail during testing." Samantha clenched her jaw. There was no time for delays. Admiral Bennett had already sent word that the fleet needed to be operational within days. Every second counted. "Get me a full diagnostic report," she said firmly, "and assemble a team to work on it immediately. We can't afford mistakes now." Marcus nodded and hurried off, leaving Samantha alone once again. She leaned against the railing, staring down at the Eclipse *. Despite the challenges, she believed in what they were doing. Humanity had spent centuries being pushed around by stronger, older civilizations. Now, for the first time, they had a chance to fight back, not out of hatred, but out of necessity. They deserved a place among the stars, not as subordinates, but as equals. That belief kept her going, even when the pressure felt unbearable. Hours later, the issue with the Pioneer was resolved, thanks to the combined efforts of Marcus and his team. Exhausted but satisfied, Samantha joined the others in the control room as they prepared for the final tests. One by one, the ships powered up, their engines roaring to life. Lights flickered across the consoles as data streamed in, confirming that everything was functioning perfectly. When the last test concluded, a cheer erupted throughout the facility. They had done it. After years of hard work, humanity's ultimate fleet was finally ready. As the celebrations continued around her, Samantha allowed herself a brief moment of relief. But even then, her mind drifted to what lay ahead. These ships were built to protect Earth, yes, but they were also symbols of defiance. Once they were unveiled, there would be no turning back. The galaxy would either respect humanity or fear it. Either way, the days of hiding were over. The data from Captain Daniel Hayes' drones reached Earth in record time, sparking a flurry of activity among humanity's leaders. President Matthew Grant convened an emergency meeting with his top advisors, including Admiral Laura Bennett and Ambassador Rachel Dawson. The evidence was undeniable. The Galactic Council was preparing for war. Blueprints for advanced weaponry, supply routes mapped out across contested space, and encrypted messages pointing to coordinated attacks painted a clear picture. Humanity had little time to prepare. Admiral Bennett wasted no time. She ordered reinforcements to the border zones while drafting plans for defensive operations. Every ship in the fleet needed to be combat-ready, every crew member prepared for the worst. Back aboard the Eclipse Asterisk, she briefed her officers on the situation. "This isn't just about holding our ground anymore," she said, her voice firm but calm. "We need to anticipate their moves and stay one step ahead. If they think we're vulnerable, they'll strike hard and fast." Meanwhile, Captain Hayes found himself back at the forefront of the conflict. His squadron had been reassigned to patrol near the asteroid field, where they'd discovered the Council's hidden base. This time, however, they weren't alone. A larger force accompanied them, tasked with keeping watch over the enemy's movements. As the days passed, tensions mounted. Everyone knew the Council wouldn't tolerate being spied on for long. It happened during one of their routine patrols. Daniel's sensors picked up sudden spikes in energy readings coming from the asteroid field. Moments later, alarms blared as multiple Council ships emerged from hiding, weapons already charging. "They've spotted us," Lieutenant Emily Ross shouted from her station. "Multiple targets incoming." Daniel's mind raced. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but retreating without a fight would mean abandoning vital intelligence. "Form a defensive line," he ordered. "Focus fire on their lead ships. We need to buy time for the rest of the fleet to respond." The destroyers moved into position, shields glowing brightly as plasma bolts streaked through space. Explosions lit up the void as both sides exchanged fire. The battle was chaotic. Council fighters swarmed around the human ships, attempting to break through their defenses. One destroyer took heavy damage, its hull breached and engines sputtering. Vanguard pull back," Daniel commanded, unwilling to lose any more ships. He led his squadron in a desperate retreat, weaving through asteroids to avoid enemy fire. Behind them, the Council forces gave chase, relentless and unforgiving. As they fled, Daniel made a split-second decision. "Deploy countermeasures and scatter," he instructed. "Make them think we're splitting up." The tactic worked. The Council ships hesitated, unsure which group to pursue. In that moment of confusion, Daniel ordered his squadron to regroup and jump into hyperspace. It was a narrow escape, but they managed to slip away before the enemy could close in. Once safely out of range, Daniel sent a message back to command detailing what had happened. Attached to it were the surveillance drone recordings captured during the skirmish. The footage confirmed his suspicions. The Council wasn't just building weapons. They were constructing entire fleets in secret. Their base in the asteroid field was a hub of activity, churning out ships faster than anyone had anticipated. Back on Earth, the implications weighed heavily on President Grant. "If we don't act now, they'll overwhelm us," he told his advisors. "That base needs to be neutralized." Admiral Bennett agreed. "It's too dangerous to leave it operational," she said. "But taking it out won't be easy. We'll need everything we've got." Plans were drawn up for a daring assault, one that would require precision, timing, and immense bravery. For Daniel Hayes and his crew, there was no turning back. They had seen the enemy's strength firsthand and barely survived. Now, humanity would have to face it head-on. War was no longer a distant possibility. It was inevitable. And when it came, the galaxy would bear witness to humanity's resolve.